Hi, welcome to Jesus in Every Chapter. We're in Isaiah chapter 5. My beloved had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. He dug it and cleared it of stones and planted it with choice vines. He built a watchtower in the midst of it. He hewed out a wine vat in it, and he looked for it to yield grapes, but it yielded wild grapes. What more was there to do for my vineyard that I have not done in it? For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah are his pleasant planting. But he looked for justice, and behold, bloodshed. He looked for righteousness, but behold, only outcry. Isaiah here describing God's people as a vineyard, and that vineyard was tended to and cared for by God himself. God did absolutely everything for that vineyard. Jesus is the one who provides all things for us. He is the complete sufficiency for us. Colossians describes him as the one who sustains all things, that all things are held together by Jesus. Jesus is the one who does all things for us. But this vineyard, Paul says that we have been grafted into. In Romans chapter 11 says we've been grafted into God's vine. And God has provided for us by joining us into his vine. Unfortunately, though, this vine is described here as yielding only bad fruit. It says when God came to look for fruitfulness in the vine, there wasn't any. It was just wild and bad fruit. Well, Jesus in John chapter 15 picks up this exact picture and he says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine keeper. Jesus picking up on this exact picture. God, the Father, is the vine keeper who provides and provides for the vineyard. But then Jesus makes a profound statement saying, not only has God provided everything that's needed for the vineyard, Jesus himself would come and be the fruitful vine. Our vine is broken, it only yields bad fruit, but Jesus came in the flesh and became God's true and better vine. When God describes the vine in Isaiah chapter 5, he says he looked at it and he looked for justice, but there wasn't any justice to be seen. There was only bloodshed. And when he looked for righteousness, there was no righteousness. It was only outcry. And that's the same with us. When God looks into our hearts, there's actually nothing that impresses him there. And that's why Jesus had to become the true and better vine. When God looked upon the vine of Jesus, he looked upon bloodshed, and yet he found justice there. When God looked upon the outcry that came from Jesus' outcry was for mercy and redemption. And so he is God's true and better vine. He is the vine that yields good fruit. And then Jesus said to us that we should remain or abide in him, and anyone who remains in him, who believes and trusts in Jesus, he will bear much fruit, Jesus said. So this is a great picture that Isaiah gives, which Jesus himself picks up in John chapter 15, and he says, I am God's vine and my Father is the vine keeper. Thanks, be blessed.